Hello everyone, welcome to the Cujo Productions channel. I'm your host Justin Crumley. It's been a while. um, Obviously from that introduction you could probably tell. Anyway, guys, the NFL draft is finally upon us. The 2017 NFL draft. As I'm making this video, the second round has just started. But mainly, I want to talk about the first round. And right off the bat, this is the only round I'm going to cover simply because there's just way too much going on right now for me to do the entire draft. It would just be a lot of work, and I think after a while, I would stop. Like, I wouldn't know a whole lot about players going to where and what they bring to the table and, all that stuff. It'd just be a lot of work, and unfortunately, jeez, I just don't have the time and energy to do all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first round. I'm going to give my thoughts about each pick. And then I'm going to do another video on the New England Patriots draft. Because as you guys know by now, I'm a Patriots fan. And they didn't pick in the first round. I was going to do the first round anyway because I have a lot to say about a lot of this. So, I just want to get that out of the way. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, going number one overall to virtually nobody's surprise. I don't think anyone was expecting another pick at number one. To the Cleveland Browns, we have Myles Garrett, the defensive end out of Texas A&M. This guy is very explosive, and this guy brings a lot to the Cleveland Browns, especially that they're lacking. Cleveland really, when you look at them, there's a lot they do need, but defense, definitely a major concern for them. I think Myles Garrett is an absolutely fantastic pick. The criticism that he draws is that his effort is kind of weak, and that may be, but, this is the NFL. He's a rookie. I think he's a great pick to the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, this is a good one. Number two overall, the Chicago Bears traded up with San Francisco to get this pick, and very puzzling, actually. They drafted Mitchell Trubisky. I don't personally know a whole lot about this guy. I know a lot of NFL draft experts were huge on him. They said he's the most NFL-ready quarterback in this draft class, and this draft is not the best for quarterbacks. So if this guy's the best of the best, at least for this class, well, I guess we'll find out. But this is puzzling to me because Chicago is paying Mike Glennon $15 million a year for the next 3 years, and then they go and use their first round pick on a quarterback. I don't know what the deal is here. I don't know if they're looking to sit Trubisky behind Glennon. I'm not sure how well that's going to work because, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Mike Glennon. I don't think he's all that great, and the fact that he got $15 million a year, that just I don't know how that happened. But yeah, again, I don't know a lot about Mitchell Trubisky. I know he, like I said, gets a lot of the he got a lot of attention through the combine, through this whole draft process. Maybe we got a winner here. Maybe we have a future NFL star. Maybe we have a big flop. Who knows? Just my whole thing with this is Chicago traded up to move from 3 to 2 just to get this guy. That kind of tells me that they were afraid that San Francisco was probably going to take him, and in all likelihood, San Francisco might have. Because they don't really have a quarterback anymore. They got rid of Kaepernick. They have, I think they still have Blaine Gabbert. I'm not 100% sure. He sucks, straight up. They got Brian Hoyer, who really works well in a Kyle Shanahan-led system, and we've seen that. So it is a little interesting that the Chicago would do this, but like I said, it just kind of has me scratching my head because of the contract they handed to Mike Glennon. But John Fox is a good coach, and we'll see where this goes. At number 3, San Francisco took Solomon Thomas, the defensive end out of Stanford. Not a whole lot that needs to be said here. San Francisco, not the best on defense last year. Definitely needed to snatch up a high-ranking defensive player. Don't know a whole lot about this guy, but John Lynch apparently liked him, or Kyle Shanahan, whoever made the call for San Francisco. It was one of them two. Yeah, good pick. San Francisco needed some defensive players, and they got one. So, much like I'm going to be saying a lot, we'll see where this goes. Next at number 4, going to the Jaguars, we have Leonard Fournette, the running back out of LSU. And LSU, man, you're going to see them a couple more times on this list. They really did some good stuff. They sent some players in the first round. That's a really cool sign for LSU and LSU fans. But anyway, Leonard Fournette, what can I say? This guy is one of the highly touted running backs in this draft class. A lot of people consider him the best. Maybe. I can't really argue with it. But Jacksonville definitely needed a run game, and I was actually expecting them to take Jamal Adams because their backfield could probably use a little work. We know they have a good cornerback duo. They have A.J. Bouye they just picked up in the offseason. They got that other guy. I forgot his name, so I'm not even going to try and attempt it. And anyone who's watched my videos know I have a bad history with mispronouncing names. Not mispronouncing, but forgetting. So I'm not even going to attempt it. Someone in the comment section, feel free to point out who the other cornerback is. But yeah, Jacksonville, they needed a run game, and they picked up the best running back in this draft, according to a lot of the experts. So this is a good pick. Moving on. Number 5 overall from Western Michigan, we have Corey Davis going to the Tennessee Titans. Corey Davis was one of the premier wide receivers coming into the draft. It's really cool to see a guy from, the state of Michigan. At least I think he's from the state of Michigan. I'm not 100% sure, but played Western, so that's really cool. Going very high in the draft. This guy is explosive. He's quick. He can make big plays, and he actually, when I was watching his highlights, one of the guys on the panel of the draft compared him to Amari Cooper. So that's pretty awesome to draw comparisons to a guy like Amari Cooper, who is finding his footing, but on his way to being a pretty damn good receiver. I think Corey Davis is going to provide Tennessee with a very good option for Marcus Mariota to throw downfield. It is definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch this. The drawback on Corey Davis is that he drops passes. He tends to drop passes a little bit here and there. Will that follow him into the NFL? Who knows? I hope not. I want to see this kid succeed. I got nothing against. I like the Titans. I'm not a fan or anything, but I like. This kid's got some talent. He's from Western Michigan. So, yeah, good pick, and I'm curious. I hope this really works out. Coming at number 6 is Jamal Adams to the Jets, the safety out of LSU. This is the guy I thought was going to go to Jacksonville. Actually, funny thing, I thought Jacksonville was going to get Jamal Adams and the Jets were going to get Leonard Fournette, but kind of opposite. Anyway, the Jets... No secret, they've definitely needed some backfield, some defensive backs. Jamal Adams was the first defensive back taken in this whole draft, so that's a pretty good sign. Jamal Adams is a fantastic safety. He has a lot of range, and that's always good, and he tackles very well, so this is a great pick for the Jets, a much-needed addition to a weak defense, at least a weak defensive backfield. I think this is going to work out very well for the Jets. At number 7 is Mike Williams, the wide receiver out of Clemson, going to the Los Angeles Chargers. This was actually the guy a lot of draft experts had going first as far as wide receivers of this draft class goes, and in many respects, it's not hard to predict that he would have went first. This guy was a standout at Clemson. came off of a season where he got hurt. I think he was out the whole year last year, and he came back with a vengeance. I heard someone on the radio once say that he's kind of slow. I don't really see that. I think this guy's a absolutely fantastic playmaker, and it's going to be fun. I think Phillip Rivers is going to be pretty happy with this one. At number 8, going to the Carolina Panthers, is the running back out of Stanford, Christian McCaffrey. Another top running back in this draft. And a lot of people, Shannon Sharpe even said that this guy probably is the top running back in the draft. I'm not really going to get into that. This kid's fast. He can catch. He's shifty, kind of like Deion Lewis. He also draws comparisons to Wes Welker because of his size. Now, I want to get into that. His size. The guy is not very big. He's like, I don't know, he's like Edelman size or something. So he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's a little undersized to play running back. I could almost see this guy end up converting to wide receiver, which, in Carolina's case, they definitely could use a wideout. Give Cam Newton another target to throw to. But overall, I like this pick for Carolina because Christian McCaffrey is very versatile. He can return kicks. He can go out and catch passes. He's fast. This is a great pick for Carolina, and I think Panthers fans should be very happy with this. At number 9 overall, going to the Cincinnati Bengals, it's John Ross, the wide receiver out of Washington, who ran a 4.22 into 40 in his combine workout, which is the fastest recorded time in NFL combine history. This guy brings a lot of speed. He's dynamic. He's a damn good receiver. And Andy Dalton looks like he's going to have a little fun with this one, with him and this guy and A.J. Green. This is going to be really fun to watch. I can't wait to see this one. At number 10, the Kansas City Chiefs traded down to get to this pick. This is another one that kind of has me scratching my head a little. It's Patrick Mahomes II, the quarterback out of Texas Tech. This is a guy I never heard a lot about, honestly. And it kind of puzzles me that Kansas City would trade up to number 10 overall and draft a quarterback. I mean, I'll be honest. Alex Smith, while he's not like an MVP candidate quarterback, he's not like he's not like a Cam Newton or Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. He's not up there with the quarterbacks you always hear about. I think Alex Smith is a very functional quarterback who's a really good game manager, excuse me. So this one kind of has me puzzled a little bit. It has me thinking, like, what's going on here? Does Kansas City anticipate that Alex Smith is going to retire? I don't know how old he is, so I can't speculate on that. But it just seems a bit odd to me that they would go with a quarterback in the first round. Maybe Alex Smith is in his contract year and he's asking for way too much money, so they want to set up. Anything's possible. I think Kansas City's kind of looking at an eye for the future. I don't know a whole lot about this kid, so not really a whole lot for me to say, other than the fact that this one kind of surprised me. So, we'll see how this one works. At number 11 is the cornerback out of Ohio State, Marshawn Lattimore, to the New Orleans Saints. As a Michigan fan, I can tell you right now, this guy is a pain in the ass to play against. The Saints have had statistically one of, if not the worst defense in the entire NFL for the past few years. So I'm not at all surprised to see them take this route. We also heard all that stuff about them inquiring about Malcolm Butler for Brandon Cooks. And obviously that didn't happen because Butler didn't sign his restricted free agent tender until just recently, and then by the time he did, it was one of those things where they just kind of forgot about it, or they just didn't want him anymore. Who knows how that really went down? So I'm not going to get into that. But Marshawn Lattimore is, I think, a pretty good pickup for the Saints. As I said, they've had one of the worst defenses over the last few years. And Lattimore, the big, I guess the big drawback on him is his man coverage isn't very good. I don't know what kind of defense the Saints are going to run. I don't know if they're going to run man-to-man or if they're going to run zone or a mixture of both. I don't really know. I don't know a whole lot about the Saints or what they're going to do. I personally think this is a pretty good pick. I have a buddy who's actually a big Saints fan and actually wasn't too happy with this pick. He wanted Jonathan Allen out of Alabama to kind of help with their pass rush. And I guess I could see his point, but the Saints haven't had a good secondary in a while. I think the last time I remember anything about them having a decent secondary was when they beat Indianapolis in Super Bowl 44, when Tracy Porter picked off Peyton Manning to kind of seal the game. And that was kind of a one-trick. He was kind of a one-trick pony at that point because he left New Orleans and didn't do a whole lot. So, wrapping this up really quickly, Marshawn Lattimore is a great cornerback. I think he's going to work out really well for New Orleans, and it's great to see that they're addressing a major issue that they've had over the past few years. At number 12 overall to the Houston Texans, who traded up to get this pick, is the quarterback out of Clemson, Deshaun Watson. This was another highly touted quarterback. I thought going in after college football ended last year, I thought he would have been the top guy. I had no idea who Mitch Trubisky was. I thought Deshaun Watson would have been the first quarterback to go, and he fell all the way to number 12. He went to the Houston Texans, who, no secret, they need a quarterback. They've needed a quarterback for, I mean, have they ever really had a good one? They tried Brock Osweiler last year. That didn't work, so now they're starting over with a quarterback. And it's nice to see Houston taking another gamble like this because something I kind of got on them for was that ever since they drafted David Carr, they seemed a little gun-shy about drafting a quarterback. So it's good to see that they're saying, you know what, screw it. We've tried some of these free agency options. It doesn't work. Let's start from scratch. Let's get a quarterback we can mold into our kind of system. And I think Deshaun Watson brings a lot of versatility to the Texans. How did I forget that? So it'll be good to see Watson, guided Clemson to a damn good win against Alabama in the national championship last year. It's going to be very interesting to see how this works out. Watson, he can move around pretty well. He throws pretty well. I think this is going to be a very good addition to the Houston Texans. Moving on. Number 13, going to the Arizona Cardinals, is Haason Reddick, the outside linebacker out of Temple. Again, I don't know a whole lot about this guy. Kid's got hustle. The highlights I've seen, he's got a lot of hustle, and that's a beautiful thing for NFL teams. NFL teams definitely love seeing kids with some work ethic. This guy's got some hustle, so that'll be fun to watch. Also, despite him being a linebacker, I think he's going to be a very good asset for the Cardinals because they just lost that defensive end. I can't remember his name, but he went to Jacksonville. And they have Chandler Jones, and I can tell you as a Patriots fan, Chandler Jones is pretty damn good. So I think Haason Reddick is going to fit in very well with Arizona's heavy defensive-minded plan of attack. It's going to be very fun to watch him flourish in this system. At least I think he's going to flourish. I think he's going to do very well with Arizona. A coach like Bruce Arians, this will be really fun to watch. At number 14, going to the Philadelphia Eagles, is defensive end Derek Barnett, coming out of Tennessee. this is a great pickup. Another highly touted defensive end in this draft that wasn't Myles Garrett. Everyone kind of figured Myles Garrett would be the first overall pick. This is actually a guy I was hoping the Lions would draft because the Lions kind of had a really bad pass rush. We'll get to them in a second. But, yeah, Derek Barnett, great player, great addition to a team that could definitely use a little more on their defense. I think Philadelphia fans are really going to enjoy this one. At number 15 overall is Malik Hooker, the safety out of Ohio State. Another guy I can tell you is a pain in the ass to play against. Very good defensive back. I think he's going to fit in really well with Indianapolis. And Indianapolis is another team that really needed some defensive help. They weren't good on defense last year. Well, they weren't good in general, but their defense was a huge blind spot. They were just an awful defensive team. So good to see Indianapolis is addressing that by adding a very good defensive back. I think Malik Hooker was another one of those highly touted defensive backs coming into this draft. And yeah, defensive backs, man. This is such a good draft for teams who need defensive backs. Great to see. It really is. Even though I'm a Michigan fan, I do hope nothing but the best for Malik Hooker. From one defensive back to another, number 16 overall going to the Baltimore Ravens is Marlon Humphrey, the cornerback out of Alabama. This kid's actually a sophomore, so that's interesting. This kid's young, really young. He's actually also the first Alabama player picked in this draft, so that's also a little cool tidbit. Humphrey. Baltimore needed some defensive back help. I sound like a broken record saying that, but it's true. They needed some defensive backs, and they absolutely got it with this kid. Though he's very young, I think that can be a bit of a downside. That just means he's going to have more time to learn. So I don't think he's going to make an instant impact right away simply because he's very young and kind of needs time to adjust to the NFL. But when he does, I think Baltimore's got a real winner on their hands. Number 17 overall, Jonathan Allen, defensive end out of Alabama, going to Washington, to the Redskins. Another great addition to a team that I think needed a little bit of some defense. So, Jonathan Allen is another highly regarded defensive end coming into the draft. Another player I was kind of hoping the Lions would have the chance to draft, but it didn't happen. And, oh well. Jonathan Allen's very athletic. He's a great defensive-minded player. I think Washington has a pretty damn good player on their hands. This will be fun to watch. At number 18 overall, another defensive back, Adoree Jackson, the cornerback out of USC, going to Tennessee. This guy actually was another highly regarded cornerback coming into the draft. I think he actually won some kind of award last year for being like one of the top corners, if not the top corner. A lot of fun to watch. I haven't really seen a whole lot from him, but I do know that Tennessee was looking to get a cornerback because they got Logan Ryan from free agency, and they just released Jason McCourty, so it's no doubt they wanted to get a little younger at cornerback, and I think this is a pretty good way to do it. You essentially have a veteran-rookie combo here. Logan Ryan's been in the NFL for a few years, and he's a pretty good corner. I can tell you that because I've seen him play. I'm a Patriots fan, but Adoree Jackson, what can I say? This is a great pick for Tennessee. Coming at 19th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the tight end out of Alabama, O.J. Howard. This was the tight end that all the draft experts said this is the guy. As far as tight ends in this draft go, this is the top of the chart. And Tampa Bay took him at number 19. It's interesting to see this because a few years back, Tampa Bay drafted what's his name, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who was a guy I was hoping New England would draft at the time because they had Gronk and they didn't have like a second good tight end. But anyway, unfortunately, Austin Seferian-Jenkins didn't really pan out that well for Tampa Bay. He got into some trouble. And they ended up releasing him, and he wound up going to the Jets. So it's good to see Tampa Bay kind of going back to the drawing board with this. They picked up Deshaun Jackson in the offseason. They already have Mike Evans. I almost said Chris. Oh my God. Yeah, they got Chris Evans. They got Captain America. But they got Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson, two very good receivers, and now they're adding O.J. Howard to the mix. God, can I please just get one thing right, the name-wise anyway? Jameis Winston. I almost said Cam Newton. Jameis Winston, I think, is going to have a pretty damn good season. He's only going to get better. O.J. Howard brings yet another target for Jameis Winston to throw to. And I think Tampa Bay is on the rise. They might just be the NFC South. They might just take it this year. I mean, they're a young, up-and-coming team, and this is only going to make their team better. Coming at number 20 to the Denver Broncos is the offensive lineman, or offensive tackle if you prefer, out of Utah, Garrett Bowles, a very highly regarded offensive lineman coming into the draft. Pretty big guy, and it was so cool when he got drafted. He took his he brought his son on stage with him, his little baby boy on stage with him. It was so cool. It was such a nice, heartwarming moment. That to the side, this is a great pickup for the Denver Broncos. Offensive line was a major issue for them last year. So this is definitely a good way to start to improve that O-line a bit. One O-lineman obviously ain't gonna solve the entire problem, but it's a great start. I think Garrett Bowles is a fantastic offensive lineman, and he's great pick for the Denver Broncos. I think Broncos fans should be very happy with this. Coming in at number 21 is Jarrad Davis, the inside linebacker from Florida, going to the Detroit Lions, who just happens to be my hometown team. Not my favorite, but they're my hometown team, so I do care. And it's funny because up until this point, I kept asking myself, and I kept asking other people, why hasn't Detroit gone after, like, Zach Brown in free agency? I mean, like, they definitely could use some help in the middle linebacker department. And I thought Zach Brown would have fit in perfectly, but maybe he wants too much money. I heard that they offered Dante Hightower a contract. I don't know how true that is. So, but now all that aside, Jarrad Davis, this makes perfect sense. I read somewhere on ESPN this morning that this pick ain't gonna be like this. While this isn't an explosive pick, it's not a pick that everyone's gonna like. It's gonna headline anything. It's a great pick for Detroit. Bob Quinn going to town already and doing some great things for the Lions as an organization. And, Bob Quinn was a head scout at New England, so this guy would know a thing or two about picking up players who not a lot of people know a lot about and making them into stars. He comes from a system that that made an art of that. So I think this is a great pick for Detroit. They needed an inside linebacker. Was hoping they would go with like Reuben Foster, but a lot of teams were kind of turned away from him because of his little incident at the Combine. But I think this is a great pick for the Lions. I think Jarrad Davis is going to work out just fine, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this kid turns out. Coming at number 22 overall is Jarrad Davis, the defensive end out of Missouri. It's really no secret the Dolphins needed some defensive firepower. They have a lot of big names on defense, like Kiko Alonso, Byron Maxwell, but for some reason it just didn't pan out all that well So hopefully this kind of helps out a bit. This is going to be very good for their pass rush. I think Jared Davis is a pretty damn good player. Maybe not the best defensive end in this draft class, but still very good. Dolphins fans should definitely be happy with this one. At number 23, going to the New York Giants, is the tight end out of Ole Miss, Evan Ingram. This one's a bit of a surprise because I had no idea that the Giants were targeting a tight end. I also had no idea they would go with Evan Ingram. I didn't think O.J. Howard would be around for them to pick up, but I thought David Njoku would be the guy they would probably go after if they were looking for a tight end. More on Njoku in a second, but Evan Ingram I don't know a whole lot about. So I don't have a whole lot to say, but I will say, though, the Giants, Eli Manning has yet another guy to throw to besides Odell Beckham Jr. and Brandon Marshall. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, and while I'm not the biggest Giants fan, good pick. I think this is going to work out pretty well. At number 24 overall, cornerback out of Ohio State, Gareon Conley. Okay, elephant in the room. Let's address the controversy behind this guy. This guy was accused of raping a woman sometime last month. As of right now, it's just an accusation. There hasn't been like a full investigation yet. No charges have been pressed yet. And there's actually a lot of witnesses saying that this isn't true. He never did anything. A lot of baggage coming with this guy. As for me, well, I don't really want to judge, but I will say this: if this is true, if he did actually rape a woman, then he belongs in jail and he's a fucking scumbag. But if he didn't, if this is just an unfortunate case of someone, crying wolf, it really sucks, and it's not fair to this kid because he's got a young up and coming NFL career ahead of him, and it just sucks that this happened. If it's not true, if he didn't actually rape this woman, it really it's unfortunate. It will follow him the rest of probably for the majority of his career. Again, if it ends up being false, I only hope it dies down. But like I said, if he actually did it, then he's fucking scumbag and he belongs in jail. But if he didn't, it's unfortunate that this had to come up. Gareon Conley is a pretty good cornerback. The Raiders, much like a lot of teams in this draft, needed some defensive backs, and I think they picked up a very good one with a lot of upswing, and they actually lost one to the Lions. So they definitely needed to look to replace him somehow, and I think this is a good way to start. At number 25 overall, the safety, linebacker, running back, wide receiver, pretty much any position guy, but he's listed as a safety. Out of Michigan is Jabril Peppers. I can tell you right now what this guy brings to the table because as a Michigan fan, I got to see a lot of him, and he was so fun to watch. I'm so happy that he went in the first round, mainly because when he tweeted draft day, it was obvious he was pretty excited. I saw some people tweeting him like, your day is tomorrow. You're not going to the first round. Durr. So I was really hoping he would go in the first round just to kind of make all them doubters look stupid. Whether or not he'll pan out, obviously that remains to be seen. But as far as what he brings to the table, the kid is versatile. Like I said, he can play. He can return kicks. He can play safety. He can play linebacker. He can play running back, wide receiver, quarterback. I mean, maybe not quarterback. I don't know about that. But, I think the Browns are going to have a lot of fun with this one. It's interesting to see the Browns building up on their defense. So, more power to him. And I really hope Jabril Peppers works out. At number 26 is the outside linebacker from UCLA going to the Atlanta Falcons, who traded up to get him. It is Takkarist McKinley. Takkarist McKinley? I think it's Takkarist, but I'm going to call him Tack because that's what everyone else was calling him. What a story this kid is. His dad left him when he was like a baby, I think, if I heard that right. His mom ended up leaving at some point in his life, so he was raised by his grandmother, and he promised her that he would be, a D1 college football player. I think I'm getting a lot of that right. I might be wrong, but he promised her that he'd go to college, and he did. And I something he said when he was drafted, I really loved to hear out of him. He said that he could have went the easy route. He could have gotten involved with like street gangs and violence and all kinds of stupid shit. But he chose the harder route. He went to college. He got an education. Now here he is, a first-round pick, going to the reigning NFC champion Atlanta Falcons, who may or may not make it back. Who knows? I personally think they'll probably suffer the dreaded Super Bowl hangover, but that remains to be seen. I'm not here to talk about the Falcons as what they're going to do next year. I think McKinley is going to fit in very perfectly with this young defense that he's going to, because the criticism for Atlanta last year was that their defense, wasn't all that great. It's a very young defense with some pretty good names that are only going to get better. So I think he's going to fit in perfectly with this young defense, and it's going to be very fun to watch him and the rest of them all grow. I'm looking forward to this one. At number 27th overall, cornerback at LSU, is Tre'Davious White, another defensive back and another LSU player. Wow, this is fun. Tre'Davious White. I've heard of him. I don't know a whole lot about him. I know he was not like regarded as the best cornerback coming into this draft, but he was definitely a touted one. Like I said, I know of him. I've heard his name. In Buffalo, when you look at Buffalo, they're definitely more of a defensive-minded team. That was kind of the direction that they were going in when Doug Marrone was their coach. And then Rex Ryan came in and just kind of screwed it all up. So that's unfortunate. And I think the Bills needed to kind of get something to cushion the blow a bit, because they did lose Stephon Gilmore to my New England Patriots. So, yep, that was awesome. But anyway, Tre'Davious White, I think, is going to fit in perfectly with a scheme that the Bills have. They're definitely one of those teams, like I said, more defensive-minded, so I think he's going to fit in quite well. Obviously, there may be a little bit of some growing pains here and there, but whatever. It is what it is. It comes with most rookies in the NFL. I think this is going to work out very well for the Bills, though. At number 28th overall is the Supreme Taco himself, Taco Charlton, the defensive end out of Michigan, heading to Dallas to play for the Cowboys. Absolutely fantastic defensive end coming out of Michigan here. Very, very highly regarded too. A lot of draft experts think that he's very NFL ready, and it's good to see a team like Dallas going after him, because Dallas. A criticism I heard for them was that their pass rush was kind of weak. This is all what I've heard. This is not me saying anything. But a criticism I had heard was that they were lacking a bit in defense. So I think Taco Charlton definitely fits the bill for them as far as what they need, and I think he's going to work out perfectly. Again, as a Michigan fan, I can tell you right now, damn good player. Dallas should be very happy with that one. At number 29th overall, the Cleveland Browns' third pick in the first round of the 2017 NFL Draft is the tight end out of Miami, Florida, David Njoku. As I said when I was talking about the Giants pick Evan Ingram. There'll be more on Njoku later, and we're talking about him now. This guy kind of plays like a wide receiver. A lot of people I've heard say. I think he's gonna do very well with Cleveland. They have Gary Barnidge, a veteran tight end, so he's got we got another one of those rookie veteran duos, and those are always fun to watch. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Njoku brings to Cleveland. A very good tight end. I'm kind of surprised the Giants didn't take him if they wanted a tight end so bad. But like I said, I've heard a few people say this guy plays like a wide receiver, so maybe they wanted like a tight end that plays like a tight end. I don't know. But David Njoku, I think, is a fantastic pick for the Browns. Like I said, it's going to be cool to see him and Gary Barnidge. Depending on who's playing quarterback for Cleveland, I'm almost positive it's going to be Brock Osweiler. This will be fun to see how it works out. Going at number 30th overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers is the outside linebacker out of Wisconsin, T.J. Watt. This is a very good pickup for the Steelers. They've needed a linebacker, and they got it. They lost Lawrence Timmons to the, I think it's Timmons. I think it's Lawrence Timmons to the Dolphins, so they kind of needed a guy to take his place. And T.J. Watt, coming into the draft, this guy has all kinds of momentum. J.J. Watt said coming in, this guy's probably better than he was. And J.J. Watt, fantastic. Just a great pick for the Steelers. I think he's going to work out perfectly. Already at number 31, going to the San Francisco 49ers. Frisco actually traded to get this pick too. Originally, Atlanta had it. Then they traded with Seattle. Then Seattle had it. Seattle traded to San Francisco. It's a bit of a mess. But anyway, number 31 overall, going to the San Francisco 49ers is the inside linebacker out of Alabama, Reuben Foster. One of the more highly touted linebackers coming into this draft. A lot of teams avoided him because of all that crap at the combine, but not San Francisco. And San Francisco, I think I said earlier, it's no secret their defense is lacking. They haven't had like a great. Patrick Willis retired some years ago. I know they had Navarro Bowman, but he's getting up there in age. So I think Reuben Foster is a very welcomed addition to the San Francisco 49ers. I definitely think this is a great pick. And as I've said like 100 times in this video, it'll be interesting to see how this works out. And finally, 32nd overall, originally belonged to the New England Patriots. They obviously traded that pick for Brandon Cooks, gave it to the Saints. And with that pick, the Saints picked Ryan Ramczyk, the offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. Little bit of a surprising one. The Saints have definitely needed to pay some attention to their defense, but their O-line has been a little questionable. They have Armstead, who is a fantastic O-lineman, but, as I said previous in this video, one offensive lineman can't, fix the entire problem on your O-line. And Ryan Ramczyk was a pretty highly regarded O-lineman coming into this draft. Maybe not on the same level as Garrett Bowles, but still very highly touted nonetheless. I think this is a good pick for New Orleans. God. So, yeah, I've been away too long. I need to step out, get some air. Alrighty, guys, real quick, that was the first round of the 2017 NFL Draft. You guys have heard my thoughts on each pick. I want to know what your thoughts are. How did your favorite team do in the first round? Did they even pick in the first round? Whatever you think, throw it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, guys. If you're not having a great day, I hope it gets better. Until next time, I'm Justin Crumley, and this is Cujo Productions, signing out.